It's day 7 of the 8-day Amgen Tour of California. It's the Queen stage, and we go right to the top of Mount Baldy. The question is, can the American leader, Dave Zabriskie, defend his narrow advantage of 34 seconds in the yellow jersey as he now takes on Colorado's TJ Van Garderen on the 6,900-foot climb? And what about the defending champion, Chris Horner? He's got to find the secret of getting back 2 minutes and 50 seconds. It's all next. Yesterday, the 8-day Amgen Tour of California found an adventurer of exception as Frenchman Sylvain Georges led from start to finish and an exhausting win at Big Bear Lake. Now it's time to climb the steepest mountain of all as the race leader, Dave Zabriskie, heads the field towards Mount Baldy and a destination that should decide the final winner tomorrow. It's stage 7 next on the NBC Sports Network. It is the penultimate day of the Amgen Tour of California, starting beneath blue skies at sea level in Ontario. But by the time they reach the finishing line today, they'll be sitting just under 7,000 feet on the top of Mount Baldy. The stage today presented by Nissan, and this really is the showdown for this year's event before the finish tomorrow outside LA Live. And I can tell you the riders have been coming up here all day, and for the last few miles, it's been taking up to a couple of hours. Hi, everybody. I'm Phil Liggett. Alongside me is Paul Sherwin. Paul, Dave Zabriskie leads this race by a few seconds. There's no way here at the finishing line he can feel safe.
No, he can't. He won't feel safe until he gets to the finishing line right behind us. We've had so much in the Amgen Tour of California so far. Shadow boxing in the first 4 days, a great individual time trial, the hors d'oeuvre of the mountains yesterday, but today is le plat principal. It's the main course. If you want to win the Amgen Tour of California, you have to do it today.
Well, you do. And the man who won the yellow jersey in the time trial at Bakersfield 2 days ago was the American time trial champion, Dave Zabriskie. He lives just north of Los Angeles. He's not very far from home. He's going to be inspired by this mountain today, but he knows he's going to have his hands full. Let's have a look at the Cliff Bar overall standings at the start today. Zabriskie leads TJ Van Garderen by 34 seconds. The Dutchman Robert Hessing by 39. Peter Vellich yesterday moved into 4th, 45 seconds back. Andrew Talansky is 5th at 48.
But if you want to win and you're so far behind like Tommy Danielson at 1:07, you've got to attack on this stage. Levi Leipheimer is 14th, looking for 1 minute and 44. Horner, the man from Los Angeles, is 26. He needs 2 minutes and 50 seconds to win this bike race.
And he is the defending champion. Well, let's have a look at our Visit California profile today, and it's all about the end.
If you don't like going uphill, look away right now, because it starts from the gun out of Ontario straight up to the summit of Glendora Ridge Road, and then it's down into the valleys, circumnavigating Ontario once again before the big, long climb up to the summit finish at Mount Baldy, just inside of 7,000 feet in altitude.
The last 500 meters they call a bowling alley, and believe me, it is narrow and very, very steep. Let's have a look at our Rabobank checking the stats. 7 of the 16 teams still intact. 39 of the 45 American starters are still in this race.
Second visit to Mount Baldy last year, the winner was Levi Leipheimer. I wonder if he can do it again.
Yes, and conditions couldn't be more perfect, and the breakaway has gone very early on today. The big danger in the breakaway is Chris Horner, the defending champion. This is his move to try and recoup some of that 2 minutes 50 seconds he's lost all week. He took away 3 teammates with him. That's him on the right coming through now in the black. He took 3 teammates with him in this breakaway: George Bennett, Gregory Rast and Jens Voigt. Rast has been dropped. There were originally 17. There's now only 11, but they are holding the peloton off at 1 minute and 50 seconds. So he needs 1 more minute to be back in the leader's yellow jersey, at least on the road. What this has done, though, this has made an incredible race today. The peloton recognized the danger. They're being driven here by the team from Garmin Barracuda, the team of the race leader, Dave Zabriskie, and they have heard this peloton. Believe me, there is Zabriskie. He must be wondering what on earth is going on. I take my hat off today to Chris Horner, because he had to attack early on. to have any hope of regaining that 2 minutes 50 deficit. Looking along here now at the San Gabriel Dam, which leads us down to the Morris Reservoir, as well as we're now still very deep in the heart of Los Angeles County. Well, look at the leader here. This is now Jens Voigt at the front for his faithful teammate of Chris Horner. He is piling everything into this, Paul. This is going to hurt the peloton beyond recognition.
Well, no chance to admire the engineering of the St. Gabriel Dam down there, Phil, because today Radio Shack Nissan Trek came out with a plan. The plan was to blow this race apart. They had 4 men in the initial breakaway of 17 riders, but, you know, Chris Horner, he said he wanted to win this bike race again. The only way he can do it is to go out on the attack and annihilate the field today. And having 2 teammates now alongside him, that gives him a big advantage. George Bennett and Jens Voigt. What a man to have in the breakaway with you, Jens Voigt.
And it's a good breakaway for Sebastian Salis here at the back, 132, because he has won the King of the Mountains, because people in that breakaway haven't affected his final total, so he'll be happy as well. There's the long twisting road here as we go along the Glendora Ridge Road, heading up to the Glendora Mount Road climb. This is now a do-or-die day today. Everybody's scrabbling for the top positions in Los Angeles tomorrow, and it's a brilliant piece of tactical riding by Chris Horner, and he's got 2 mates with him, George Bennett and Jens Voigt. They're first and second at the moment. Bennett, by the way, was first over the top. Voigt was second. Chris Horner third over the first climb. The 3 Radio Shack riders. It's been a great move by Radio Shack.
It's a brilliant move, and it was the only move they had to play. Horner did not do a very good individual time trial, lost himself over 2.5 minutes. He's 2 minutes and 50 seconds down in the overall standings. Currently, we are in between the 2 big mountains. They've come off Glendora Ridge Road. They're pretty much in the valley, and another 10 miles or 16 kilometers or so, they will start the ascent of Glendora Mountain Road and then continue up to the woody heights of the Mount Baldy climb.
Yes, it gets very barren at the top, hence its name, I think, Baldy. There's only a couple of pine trees on the summit. The snow has only just gone away, and in fact, in parts of Mount Baldy, protected from the sun, the snow is still lying there. And in fact, 2 years ago, we had a snowstorm after this race left. Well, this rider is Mark Damar in the breakaway here as well. He rides for United Healthcare. And he's the best placed man in the breakaway, slightly better placed than Chris Horner, 2 minutes 7 seconds back. Let's check in on the Sutter Home weather. Look at this, 90 degrees. That's down in the valley. It's a bit cooler up on the top, but it is an excellent temperature for racing today. It'll still be in the 80s when they arrive on top of Mount Baldy. That man will not lie down, Jens Voigt, coming up 41 years of age. His job now is to get Chris Horner 2 minutes 50 ahead of the field. It's real-time racing today. There are no time bonuses at the finish or at the sprint points. Mount Baldy will decide this overall classification. This is the peloton here. There's still quite a few riders left, but there's been a lot of riders dropped as well, I can tell you. These boys now must be wondering at the back why on earth they are going so fast. That's where we're headed, down the valley and up the climbs to Mount Baldy. The last 500 meters, known as the bowling alley, the last 3 miles is very, very, very steep indeed. Tourists have been driving up on the bicycles, walking this morning. These boys won't be doing that, but this race now very much on. Welcome back, and the San Gabriel Canyon Road has never looked more pretty in glorious sunshine and not too hot. This is the peloton here. The pressure has gone on. In fact, this is the breakaway we've gone to now. These 11 riders out in front. It's causing a lot of trouble. Tim Duggan is there. There he is in 3rd position on the bike. He did a great ride yesterday, and he's now having to sit in the slipstream of 2 of his rivals here. Driving this pace is Jens Voigt. He will never give up until his legs will do no more. He's taking with him in second wheel George Bennett, the American. Then Tim Duggan, then the big danger man, defending champion number 1, Chris Horner, pouring water over his head. The top Colombian rider, Atapuma, is in here too, and Genier of Argus Shimano, another good man. We are in the valley at the moment on the San Gabriel Canyon Road, but we will then swing to the left, or at least the riders will, as they head along Sierra Madre Avenue before we start to climb up the Glendora Mount Road. It'll be hills all the way to the finish in Mount Baldy. The peloton has been put under so much pressure today that it's going to implode as the roads start to climb again. Well, Chris Horner is in that breakaway, and before the start this morning, we were talking with him. Let's find out what he had to say.
Chris, after the time trial and the first hard day in the mountains, do you still harbor some overall aspirations?
Oh, there's still a possibility, but it's more the stage that we're looking at, of course, and then if something on GC arrives. But I don't think we're going to see. You're asking a lot of guys to go really bad up the climb. Do I think some of them will go bad? Sure, but you need Guessing to go bad, you need TJ to go bad, Talansky to go bad, Danielson, and yada yada yada, all the way down the list, and Zabriskie too. And so you're asking a big toll there. So, but we'll see how the day goes and how it plays out. But hopefully the legs have recovered from my own self going catastrophically bad. So that's the main thing that concerns me, is just whether or not the legs are good or not today.
And what are the keys to maybe winning a stage up on Mount Baldy today? Well,
that part's made it a little easier on me if I'm just focusing on the stage, because now I just have to follow the guys that are racing for the GC. Certainly if Guessing's got good legs and I can stay on his wheel, then the stage win is more possible for me than him. Tactics and other reasons, and same with TJ. If he gets up the road, then certainly he's going to race for as much time as he possibly can on the Garmin boys, which allows me to sit on. So for that part, it could make winning the stage easier, but of course GC is out there.
All right, Chris, so best of luck on today's stage.
Thanks.
Well said, Chris. Well, he is not racing for the stage, is he? He is racing to win the Amgen Tour of California for a second year. This is a plan. He didn't even hint at it there to Bob Roll, but he's laid it in place very early on. So as we look down towards the area where the riders will race along Sierra Madre Avenue, heading back into the hills, which run on our left of the picture at the moment, it looks now that Chris Horner has played the only card he had in the pack, Paul. He wants to win this race for a second year. To bridge such a gap, he had to attack in this manner.
Well, he did, but he's actually not in. He's not in an ideal situation right now, because there's a man in the breakaway who's ahead of him in the overall standings. Because Mark DeMar started the day in 20th place, and Chris Horner started the day in 26th. Separated only by seconds, but Mount Baldy will have a lot to say. And I tell you what, I wouldn't like to be in the main field today, because as hard as Jens Voigt and George Bennett are riding in the leading group of 11 riders in the main field, it must be absolute agony. You've had Garmin Barracuda really putting the pedal to the metal, but now you've got Team Rabobank taking over as well, because strangely enough, it's a very difficult race to decide who is actually going to win this bike race at the end, because the first 5 riders are all top quality bike riders. Zabriskie, TJ Van Garderen, Robert Hessing, Peter Velits, Andrew Talansky. Any one of those men could win tonight, but Chris Horner has not laid his last card on the deck yet.
Well, that's a long, angry line down there, and it is Rabobank setting the pace. Well, just looking now at this is all Garmin Barracuda here, keeping their Queen Bee, Dave Zabriskie. There he is in yellow in the right place. The whole team around him, they know what's got to be done now. They've got to get out there. And in the line, there's TJ Van Garderen too, tucked in here. But George Hincapie, Andrew Talansky, the boys are all in there. And they're all working hard now to try and shut down this, let's call it a cheeky escape by Chris Horner. I take my hat off to him today for that. And then come the team of Robert Guessing. These are the boys with the leaders in the top 4 places in the race. All right, well, let's remind ourselves, Mount San Antonio, better known to us as Mount Baldy, is the crown jewel of the San Gabriel Mountains in Southern California. It stands at 10,068 feet. Mount Baldy is the highest peak in the mountain range and the highest point in Los Angeles County. The peak, which marks a boundary between San Bernardino County and Los Angeles County, is called Baldy because of the absence of trees around the summit. Now, there's a surprise. And for more information, go to visitcalifornia.com. This is a stunning part of the world and a stunning part of California. TJ Van Garderen, his parents have joined the race now to watch him with his sister. Today they said they hope he can do it. Well, we'll find out soon. Right now he looked pretty cool there, just taking sips of water, keeping hydrated. But the man who's caused all the panic of the day is Chris Horner as he speeds some way ahead of the main field. This is the finishing line. 1 or 2 of the touring cyclists still getting up here, puffing and blowing away to the thin air in the San Gabriel Mountains. As we go down now to look at the faces here, the anxious riders. This is Chris Baldwin. He is in the breakaway and he's a member of the Bissell cycling team who have been in our pictures every day. And that's a good cue. Let's take a look at the team Bissell presented by Bissell.
we want to consistently be the best team in the U.S. I mean, we're a domestic team. You know, we focus on American bike racing. Last year, we were the #1 ranked team in the country. I mean, this year we've won more national calendar races than any other domestic program.
We're very proud of the fact that we constantly show up ready to race and ready to perform.
Bissell is just excited to be here. Get invited to the biggest race in the U.S. Everyone knows about the Tour de France, but for us, this is the Tour.
We're racing against the best riders in the world. For us, it's super prestigious to come here. I mean, there's 16 professional teams, domestic teams in the U.S., and I believe there's only 3 or 4 that get to start this race. Over the last 3 years, we've built the program to be #1 domestic team on the racing circuit. We were #1 team last year in the NRC. This year, we've won more national category races than any other team. We like to promote the younger riders coming through the system to advance them to the next level. So to see some of these younger riders come through our team and then step up to the highest level, and we take a lot of pride in seeing that happen. And I think people in the sport realise that we're a team that can help those athletes do that as well and give them a platform to step up to the top level.
Yes, they are last year's top USA American home-based team, and these 3 riders we've seen in our cameras all week in the Amgen Tour of California. Ben-Jacques Maines has been up there, stage 1 most aggressive rider. Baldwin is in the break right now and had a great finish, 39th overall at the moment. Same with Jeremy Fennell. He's from New Zealand, but he lives here in Santa Rosa in California. This is the breakaway now, and that's Chris Baldwin dodging the wheels in the red shorts on the left-hand side of the picture. The man here representing the AG2R team, which is the brown shorts, that is Maxime Bouet, as he's in this breakaway. As I say earlier, there were 17 riders in this breakaway, but they went so quick they blew half of them away. There's only 11 of them left now, and it was done to the pacemaking of Jens Voigt and George Bennett up front. Just having a look, it didn't look like 11 there. We'll check that out. I think we've lost 1 or 2 more. We've turned off now onto the Glendora Mountain Road as we head towards our next King of the Mountains. Just seeing that breakaway, Paul. I think we've lost a couple of more names from it right now as we see them going, but this is the main field. They're running along the driveway through Glendora, the Sierra Madre Avenue, before they make their left turn onto the Glendora Mountain Road, which then starts the undulations right through to the top of Mount Baldy. There we are. You probably can't see us, but we are waving.
Yeah, well, there you can also see why it's called Mount Baldy, because there's not a tree on the top of this mountain, and it's a long, winding road to get up there. But as you can see, there is a lot of suffering on this just to stay in contact with this group. When Jens Voigt throws out the pain, he really knows how to do it. One of his nicknames amongst the bike riders, Phil, is the King of Pain, because he dishes it out so much when it comes to situations like this.
Well, there is only 8 riders there. There are only 8 riders there. I think I've got pretty much most of them. I'll run them through in a minute. I think we've, unfortunately, George Bennett is still there for the Radio Shack team. Chris Baldwin's still there. Mark DeMar still there. Maxime Bouet is still there. Atapuma is still there, and it looks as though the one man who is in trouble is Jens Voigt after all of his work. So he is the man who's bringing that group down to only 8 men left. Well, look at Jens now. He's thrown everything into this to prize this breakaway open to over 2 minutes. But now the legs are hitting the hills again.
Well, he's done everything he could. He dug deep into his reserves there to give every last little bit of energy, just exactly the same as George Bennett, Phil. And now, one by one, we're seeing this race explode. We're seeing riders just drop off the back. The next guy to go here, this looks very much to me as if this is Lucas Uza. He's a great rider for Team Spider Tech and normally a pretty good climber, but the pressure of being in that breakaway, just too much.
Well, it's the urgency of the pace, that they're not just trying to ride away and hold off to win the day. They're riding away to gain the time that will give Chris Horner the overall victory. This is now Chris Baldwin who's come off the back, the Bissell rider as well. It has totally imploded in this breakaway. The strength of Chris Horner, George Bennett, Bouet, Tim Duggan is still up there, Atapuma, the Colombian climber, and Mark DeMar. I think they are the only riders left up front now.
Oh, it's going to be a hard climb for Chris Horner, but you know what? He wants to win this bike race for a second year in a row. He knows he's got a big ask, and look at Horner on the front of this field. He's just about to pop the Frenchman here, Maxime Bouet. He's off the back now. Horner is going to have to ride the time trial of his life. He didn't come up with a goods fill around Bakersfield the other day, but today, this is his individual time trial.
His time trial did leave him down. Maxime Bouet there, just putting his tongue out, saying enough is enough. You can see the lime green colours in the centre of this breakaway of the ever-aggressive Tim Duggan. He's on the same team as Peter Sagan, who won't be in the race today, believe me. But this great little climber at the back in the black is John Atapuma. He will love the climb. The pace is all Chris Horner. 5 men are left, and it's Chris Horner, Tim Duggan, Mark DeMar, John Atapuma, and Alexander Genier. There were 17 in the first 2 miles of the attack. Now we are down to 5. It's a long time since we've commentated on such an urgent breakaway as this one.
Well, I tell you one thing, Phil, if Chris Horner was not popular at the start of today's stage, he's going to be super popular with the fans by the way he has gone out to try and ring back the breakaway, and in fact to try and wring the shoulders of Dave Zabriskie to take that jersey off it and put it onto his own. But the race is far from over. There's a lot of serious professionals in this group this afternoon.
There's the peloton reassessing here, because they are going to see the riders coming back to them. Now, the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie is right down there in the centre with his teammates. He will be pleased to see these riders coming back one by one, but the one number he wants to see coming back is number 1. And until he sees Chris Horner, he is not going to feel very happy at all. Horner is pushing this breakaway on one by one. He's destroying the riders who he had hoped would have helped him in his quest. We'll take a break. Welcome back. Well, that group of 5 has suddenly been dissipated under an attack here by Horner again. Sitting up there, riding no-handed, is Mark DeMar. No, it's not Mark DeMar. We're going back to the bunch here with riders one after another here. This is the peloton. Riders are being picked off by the main field, but Horner is just stamping on the... He is now blown away. George Bennett, Tim Duggan, Mark DeMar. He is only left with John Atapuma, who is a tremendous mountain climber, one of the riders from the Columbia Cola-Sport teams. He's on his playground, but Chris Horner is not asking him for any help. He still has a long way to ride, and he's now eliminated 15 of the original 17 attackers. Well, this is the day to make time if you've got the strength and the legs, because we're over one hill. There's a long way to go before we top out in the San Gabriel Mountains here. We're still in Los Angeles County, climbing towards the top of Mount Baldy.
Peloton.
Two riders, Paul, versus the rest now, right now, and this is Martin Jangly. We just got a little view of him. There's the peloton. Surprisingly, a lot of riders still left in that peloton. There's 3 teams making the pace. Garmin Barracuda for Dave Zabriskie, BMC for TJ Van Garderen, and also the team there at the back there for the 3rd place rider, Martin Belitz, as well.
Phil, just look at the faces of these riders, though, the concentration. This has been a painful start to stage 7, and we haven't reached the difficult part yet, because the last 5 kilometers are unbelievably steep. Very much resemblant to a climb like Les Ardennes, for example, in the Great Tour de France. This will be the showdown. This was the showdown that I think the race organization wanted, and it's gone right down to this penultimate stage. One by one, though, the guys we've talked about as the pretenders to win this race, Zabriskie, TJ Van Garderen, Hessink, Velits, and Talansky.
Look at Sagan, Paul.
They're losing their teammates. Sagan is just coming back. He was dropped a few moments ago, but he's a fighter.
He's hanging on just about, but the gap has gone up to 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Remember that Chris Horner has now left behind Mark DeMar, who was the best place rider up there, which now means that Horner is racing into the lead on the road. At the start this morning, 48 seconds covered the top 5 riders in the race. All of those 5 riders are still in the main field. This man was sitting off at 2 minutes 50. He's now got the 3 minutes 20. He is now the virtual leader of the race on the road. That's a defense for you as the defending champion.
The only way to win a bike race, Phil, is to go out on the attack. He had a terrible individual time trial. I think he was disappointed by his individual time trial. But, you know, Chris Horner is much better known as a climber, a mountain goat, a man who has no fear of the mountains. Well, just driving up Mount Baldy this morning, it made me tremble just a fraction in the car when I had to drop it down into low gear. But Horner, you know, he is trying to get himself up to the top here. He has to beat this man. Strangely enough, Dave Zabriskie has finished in this bike race in second place on 3 occasions. I'm sure he doesn't want to finish second again.
Yes, he has. He doesn't look too panicked at the moment. There's still a ways to go. 37 kilometers to race to the finish at the moment. He's letting his team do the work, but he knows sooner or later he is going to have to come out and play. The climb itself, the last 8 kilometers or 5 miles, is very, very, very steep. It's around about 17%, and that is going to hurt them.
Number 22 there, just sitting at the back. He was wondering what he's doing in the mountains here this afternoon. That's Tom Bonin. Had an unbelievable start to the season with 9 victories so far, and he's having a chance to see what a real fight is taking place at the front end of the main field. He's actually trying to stay in there in case his teammate, Peter Velits, needs any help later on.
Absolutely. Well, there he is, Chris Horner. Take your hat off to him now. And also this man who hasn't helped him yet. This is John Atapuma, who must be wondering who on earth Chris Horner is. Where has he found these climbing legs, he's thinking, when he hasn't done a lot all week. This is the final throws of the defending champion. It's win the race or lose everything. That's Horner's attitude today. The cheers from the few people up here. There's nobody lives in these hills, I can tell you. So Horner continues to apply the pressure. He's not asking even his Colombian climber team rival behind to help him. It is one man against the rest. Here we have, there's the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie. Let's have a look then at our monster cable jersey wearers today. Zabriskie is in the Amgen yellow, Peter Sagan in the Visit California green points. As Talis, I think, has won now the Nissan King of the Mountains, and Luke Dervish is the Rabobank best young rider. Our 2 men of yesterday, Sylvain Georges was the most aggressive for Exergy, and the breakaway from Cancer from Amgen was Tim Duggan for the most courageous rider. You're up to date with the leaders, but that was at the start of the day. What is happening now? TJ Van Garderen just riding along thinking, well, we should have expected this one, but maybe we didn't. Now they're going to have to put it all to rights at some stage. Still a big peloton there, which means they've still got a bit of firepower left in them because they haven't shed too many riders in the back. But there's only one left helping the rider in the front, as it is Chris Horner riding on to Mount Baldy. Welcome back. Now remember, tomorrow the Epic Cycle Series continues on NBC with the conclusion of this year's Amgen Tour of California. And we wonder who will be taking that final yellow jersey down into the streets of Los Angeles. That's tomorrow at 1 Eastern, live on NBC. What a day this is turning out to be. Everybody was mentally ready for the big climb up Mount Baldy as showdown. But Chris Horner wasn't. He decided to make it from the gun today and just see if he could win this race on this day. At the moment, he leads by 3:35. He was 2:50 behind this morning. Doesn't take a mathematician to tell you he is now 1:55, a little bit less in front. These are the tired men now, the workhorses, the men we call the domestiques, the team helpers who are trying to limit the escape of Chris Horner and keep their players in the action. Little bit of a rider down towards from Garmin Barracuda. Riders are going to get themselves tired, but there are also riders having mechanical problems as they go down at the back. And that looks as though it is Andrew Talansky here. I think he's been back to the team car because he is riding in 5th place overall. One of the men expected to finish off well today for perhaps a podium. He's been down to the team cars. He's climbing his way back into the bunch. He doesn't look too troubled at the moment. Tom Bonin, the sprinter, though, he's had enough of these hills in California. Maybe see more of him around LA Live tomorrow, when he'll have much better chance at winning the sprint. Well, let's take a look at who you, the fans, thought would win today's stage. My goodness me, you must have all been paying attention. 18% of you say Chris Horner will win today, and there he is up front. TJ Van Garderen, Peter Sagan, and for the rest of the field, you give them 61.2%. Tomorrow, you can enter for the final stage, a chance to win $1,000. Head on over to roadid.com/ride. The peloton continue on their way. There's some tired faces developing at the front. They must be reeling here. Horner and his group never gave them a chance to get into their pedals today before he was disappearing along the road. And the faces now of both Team BMC and we catch occasionally Team Rabobank, Paul, they are getting very worried, and their teammates are getting very tired.
Look at a face on Dave Zabriskie there in the yellow jersey. What is interesting, Phil, is I'm a little concerned Andrew Talansky dropped to the back of the car. I actually thought he was going back to get drinks for the rest of the team. This guy is in fifth place overall, looking for 48 seconds. Well, it's been you get an idea of how tough this race has been today. He was second overall in the Tour of Romandy, which is a mountainous race.
I thought he was okay, but he couldn't quite come back up to the field, and they've caught him now, and they've damaged his own team, has had to set the pace, and I'm very surprised there that Talansky is seen falling off at this stage, but it looks as though he's really suffering here. The man that was second in the Tour of Romandy in Switzerland and was the best young rider only a couple of weeks ago, but he's struggling here now. Different types of climb here in America, but he should know more about them than most.
Well, it was good to see that Atapuma gave a little bit of a turn there for Chris Horner, and in fact the acceleration almost put Horner under a bit of pressure. He's an amazing climber though, Chris Horner, because very often real climbers like to climb sitting down and using a very supple gear, but when you look at Horner here, Phil, he's almost consistently been out of the saddle. Atapuma, he's had a very good race in the early part of this season because he won a stage of the Giro del Trentino in Italy. That's a tough race to get a result in, and he finished 8th overall.
All uphill today now. We are going along the Glendora Ridge Road, which takes us eventually up to Mount Baldy village, steadily but surely uphill. The right shoulder of the riders, it's a long way down to the suburbs of Los Angeles and the flat country. Now the riders are splitting up all of the time. Huge slices of peloton are now finding that the journey along the Glendora Ridge Road is a journey too far.
Oh, well, there's George Bennett there wearing number 2. There's the winner of the King of the Mountains classification, I'd have to say, Phil, because he's not going to get beaten today. Peter Sagan won't win the stage this afternoon, but he'll be nursing his body up this climb to conserve as much energy as possible for tomorrow's stage around LA Live.
The only good news is for these riders, there's just over 20 miles left to go, 33 kilometers, but it is virtually all uphill now as we gradually go up into the thin air of the mountains here. Here's the only Japanese rider just going off the back there now. Doi has gone as well. One after another, the riders are slipping away as well. Motorbike picks her way through to get back onto the peloton. Absolutely unexpected this, and the peloton have been destroyed by this attack of Chris Horner. The big question mark is, Paul, can he keep this pressure on? His gap is still going up. It's 350.
It's an amazing ride, and it really does cast my mind back to that breakaway by Andy Schleck in the Tour de France last year when he went to the summit of the Col du Galibier. But you know, on that occasion there was a long way to go to the finish of the Tour de France. Here, if Horner can conserve this, he's going to ride into LA as the winner tomorrow.
And what an unbelievable situation that would lead. We'd written him off this morning, and here he is now, the leader on the road. A little bit of sunbathing on top of the car as they go past the riders here. This is what is left now of the leading group here. Well, what a tremendous attack by Chris Horner. That was Chris Baldwin coming back to the leading group. Chris Horner has made himself the man to beat. He's the leader on the road, and it's going to be the other two here who have to follow him. We'll take a break. Well, we're now back with remnants of riders dropping off all over the place here. Now, this is Andrew Bajadali who's being dropped here. This is stage 7, and it's the Queen stage today, presented by Nissan, as we're now heading to the top of Mount Baldy. Not halfway, but right to the top of the mountain. One after another, the peloton is losing its passengers, and it is now working hard. Chris Horner sits in the lead, the defending champion. With his lead, he is now the race leader by 1 minute overall in this race, and the rest have it all to do. From 17 in this breakaway at the start, he has just one man with him, and that is John Atapuma. And Atapuma is a great climber, and he's beginning to find those legs now, and Chris Horner will welcome his efforts on the front. Horner looks across his left-hand side of the road. We're on at the moment the Glendora Mountain Road, heading up to the towards the Glendora Ridge Road. Then we'll go on to the Mount Baldy Village and upwards to the climb itself. There's one mountain preen point for Nissan on this road before we head on to the last climb of the day. Well, I suspect down in Los Angeles it's all peaceful and traffic jams, Paul, but absolute vicious cycling up here on the ridges, the mountains, overlooking that great and well-known city. Chris Horner had a plan today. He's executed that plan, and goodness me, at the moment, it looks as though it might be a winning plan.
It's unbelievable. I never would have expected him to be able to do this, but the fact is the team, they came out with that plan this morning. It was a do-or-die day. 4 men into that early breakaway. Dave Zabriskie, he's just sitting comfortably in the main field. I think he would be a difficult man to beat, but I don't think even he expected the power of the attack to come from Chris Horner. Zabriskie sits in 4th or 5th position there. You can see him in the yellow jersey behind a couple of teammates. Tommy Danielson could be the leader of change if anything happens to Dave Zabriskie, but Zabriskie, with his individual time trial performance, certainly has the form.
20 miles to go, 32 kilometers to the summit. Well, at the start this morning, Chris Horner was chatting with all of his fans and people just asking for his autograph and photograph. They were asking him, how are you feeling? He said, I feel just fine. There was no indication he was going to get on his bike and rip away like this at the start.
Yeah, well, that sign you might just have seen was 3 kilometers to the summit of the next King of the Mountains point there, which is as we go over Glendora Mountain, but it's 30 kilometers to go to the summit at Mount Baldy, so there's a lot of climbing left to come.
No, they've just thrown this one in as an hors d'oeuvre on the stepping stones up to the big mountain itself, and the last 8 kilometers today really is a grovel. They won't sit down all the way up. The fans here have managed to get up before the roads were closed, cheering 2 riders past here. One is the former winner of the Amgen Tour of California. Josh Atkins has gone off here, so Josh has ridden a good race. The average age of this team is 20. Josh himself, I think, is 19. Still can afford to smile. He should do. He's got another 10 years of this, Paul.
Oh, yeah, hard to think. But, you know, this is a development squad, Bontrager Livestrong team, which is looked after by Axel Merckx. And these guys are learning the tools of the trade here this afternoon. They're learning how to suffer. They're learning what it's like when a team comes to the front in defense of an overall jersey. And that's what we've seen Team Garmin Barracuda doing now of interest. It's the black and red jerseys coming forward of BMC Racing. That's to try and set something up for TJ Van Garderen.
Yes, enemies have to become friends now because Horner's forced the issue that the race must chase. The TJ Van Garderen's boys are setting the pace at the moment, but the teammates of Dave Zabriskie's just behind, and there's another rider going off here. This is Tom Peterson, former stage winner here a couple of years ago on the Tour of California. He's a Garmin rider, he's a pacemaker, and he's now cracked.
Well, Phil, one by one, these team leaders are starting to lose their teammates, and eventually they're going to have to come out and do the chasing on their own. But they will use their teammates right up until the last moment. There you can see Dave Zabriskie. He realizes that
looks cool.
He looks cool, and he will always look cool. He'll just sit there. He's sitting behind his own teammate there, Alex House. He's right in front of him, but now it's BMC who are now trying to set this up. They've taken the responsibility. TJ Van Garderen, Phil, who starts the day just sitting very comfortably in second place. Oh, number 13's gone. That's Heinrich Hausler. Boom, boom, and out go the lights.
But another Garmin piece of ammunition has been lost here to chase back, so it looks as though it's going to have to be Team BMC who's going to have to try and reduce this amazing gap. Chris Horner has opened 3 minutes and 40 seconds. These guys have been at the top end of their ability since we started today. Horner hit them at the start, and boy, he's hurt every one of them. And look at him, pedaling just calmly on here with Atapuma, who's got the look of the devil in those eyes as he looks up towards the summit. Chris Horner is one of the most amazing bike riders on his day, Paul. I would put him down as virtually unbeatable on his day. We just never know which day. So absolutely amazing here. Chris almost, when he suffers, he has this rather, I'm sure he smiles, because it is a grimace, but really it's not. It's a smile. Chris is hurting everybody in the Amgen Tour of California today, including himself. Now don't forget to sign up for the Radio Shack Tour Tracker. You can follow the race from start to finish, including text updates, rider location, speed, distance, breaks, and 2 hours of live video every day. That's the Radio Shack Tour Tracker. Well, there's a lot of exciting stuff on the tour tracker today. Chris Horner going from the gun with 16 other riders, blowing them away one by one with moments of desperation, as now his team BMC tried to sort matters out. Garmin Barracuda have lost a couple of their firepower on this climb up towards the next climb of the day on the Glendora Mountain Road. Chris Horner versus the rest, and I can't tell you the result. We'll see you in a moment. These are the USA Cycling American standings as of this morning. They've changed a bit already, but Zabriskie the leader, second TJ Van Garderen, fifth Andrew Talansky, seventh Danielson, and 10th the amazing Lawson Craddock there for Bontrager Livestrong. But of course now Chris Horner has altered all of these standings because he's moved to number one on the road, the defending champion, and there he is, gratefully receiving any help with the pacemaking by the Colombian rider John Atapuma. Heading up to the penultimate climb of the race now as we head up towards Mount Baldy here. And there is Mount Baldy in the distance. This one, though, is the climb of the Glendora Mountain Road. The Nissan King of the Mountain points aren't really important to the two men up front. That competition has gone the way now of the Canadian Sebastian Salas. These are riders being caught now, and this is Lucas Jusa being caught there, and also Jens Voigt. Little tap on the back here. Lucas Jusa and Jens Voigt are going back to the main field.
Yeah, well, Jens Voigt can look back now, Phil, and have a look at the damage that he's done, because he's pretty much responsible for setting this up with the Radio Shack Nissan riders, because he really gave his all up until the foot of this climb. Don't be deceived by that 1 kilometre to the summit mark, by the way, because that's the King of the Mountains at the top of Glendora Mountain. After that, there's another 28 kilometres to go.
And on. It really does, and the last 8 kilometres extremely steep and quite narrow as well, where the crowds at the moment are barbecuing, having a great party. Just 1 kilometre, 6/10 of a mile in, up to the summit. George Bennett won the last climb, but it was a pacemaking job as Voigt, his teammate, followed by Horner, went over the top there. The peloton now under the control of TJ Van Garderen's team BMC. It looks as though the Barracuda Garmin, the Garmin Barracuda team rather, will be rather pleased they're helping out.
Well, they certainly would want to turn themselves into Barracudas a little bit later on and start eating everybody up if they can, but they've got to eat back to this man, eat into 3 minutes and 40 seconds advantage. Jose Acevedo, team manager, coming up alongside him now. Thanks, I don't want that here this afternoon. No talking, thank you. I've got to stay concentrated on the job in hand this afternoon. Chris Horner is hoping that he can fly the stars for the Star Spangled Banner nice and high. The peloton, Phil, is really picking up a fairly nasty pace.
Well, they've got to. This is the most serious attack of the race. As a man gone from the depths of the overall, 2 minutes 50 back to the leader now by 55 seconds of the race. 3:35 is the gap. It seems to be stabilizing because of the firepower of team BMC. But Chris Horner is the leader on the road now, and all of the other men that mattered are in the peloton. This is the crowd here now. They're coming up to the summit of the climb. They're not worried about the small prize here. What they want is the prize on top of the next mountain.
Yep, that's what it's all about. But look at the time gap now, Phil. It's starting to change to the advantage of Dave Zabriskie and the main field, because it's come down to 3 minutes and 35 seconds. It's going to be a long pursuit for the remnants of the main field, because look at that group there. There are really not very many riders. It's elimination day today in the Amgen Tour of California. One by one, the teams and the leaders of the race, the pre-race favorites, they're losing their teammates, and all because of the pressure thrown on the race by this man.
Here we come up to the Nissan King of the Mountains, the penultimate climb in this year's race. Horner will not object here to John Apuma coming over him and taking the points and the prize at the top of the mountain. Neither men feature in this competition. They are racing for a top finish in the race today. So it's Atapuma who goes over ahead of Horner.
Yeah, that's not really that important for the riders. But Atapuma put a few dollars into his back pocket. But I think it's more of a psychological thing there that Chris Horner is saying to him, come on, you go and take the prize money there. Let's keep working together, because I need you over the next few kilometres if I'm going to win this bike race overall. Horner cannot do it on his own, but at some time he's going to have to take that responsibility. Number 35 slipping backwards here. The captain, Big George Hincapie on BMC Racing. What a man. You know, Phil, he turned professional way back in 1994, and he's still got the strength to go back to the team car, grab a few bottles, scuttle up the outside and distribute it to the boys.
George will make the selection for the team for his 17th Tour de France. That's an outright record anywhere in the world. He sits 11th overall in this race at the moment, a minute and a half off the race leader at the start of the day, Dave Zabriskie. Now a little bit over 2 minutes behind with the man that's gained time up front, Chris Horner. They must be wondering, as they swept up all these riders, just how fast Chris Horner is going up front as the riders from that original break come back to the bunch one by one.
Psychologically, it is a mean blow. If you're in a group like that, you're working to try and pull back the gap, and you can see that you're not having any effect on the advantage. You can see it's locked in there at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and after a while it starts to eat into your brain and say, well, I can't do this anymore because I'm not getting anywhere currently. But for TJ Van Garderen, it's a big day for him. They've got to keep this pressure on all of the time because they can see the Amgen Tour of California, which the top 5 riders in the overall standings have been dreaming about for a couple of days, slipping out of their hands if they're not careful.
News coming through, 2 riders deciding enough is enough. 2 riders like Logan Loader and Carter Jones have abandoned on this climb, bringing the field down to 112 riders heading towards the finish tomorrow. 3 minutes 25. It's slightly in the reversal now for the first time. 28 kilometers to go, and they're going to have to keep this pressure on because they're trying to get a little bit closer before the assault of Mount Baldy. That will give them the confidence.
All they will be looking at is 2 minutes and 50 seconds because that was how far behind Chris Horner was in the overall standings at the start of the day. Currently, he is the virtual overall leader of the race. Unfortunately for him, there's still 26 kilometers to go to the finish, all uphill. A little bit of respite in the middle with a couple of plateaus for a kilometer or so, but basically, Phil, we're climbing right up to almost 7,000 feet, just 2,000 meters in altitude. And I'd have to say that's pretty much from sea level.
Well, look at the pressure now being put on here by Team BMC. They've put 4 riders. The last man in the line is George Hincapie. He's been back. He's collected all the bottles. He's come back to the front. He's now taking his turn in the pacemaking. He is a most incredible bike rider, and he'll be cheering these riders on. We're looking down now on the climb below us, the top of the climb, but the road itself just goes down a minute distance before we climb again. As they're coming through, the clock on the line now. It was just over 3 minutes since they went through. They've closed it down. It's about 3:10, 3:08 as the peloton goes across the line. So it continues to come down. We're showing 3:20, but the clock doesn't lie. It's 3 minutes 8, the real gap. I wonder if that'll be communicated on the radio sets here, written by the riders. Chris Horner is still the leader of this race. He started with a deficit of 250. He now leads this race by 18 seconds. There's no time bonus today. It's a very easy race to calculate. Real time decides. Horner looking a little bit not as fluid as he was earlier, I feel. He wants to get over the top of this and perhaps a chance to recover, but it's still Chris Horner, the leader on the road of the Amgen Tour of California. In the black and red is TJ Van Garderen. In the yellow is Dave Zabriskie. They would like to be very dearly inside 250 at this moment. Yes, that's today's Nissan Innovation for All. They need the big cogs on the back today. They will do in a few minutes' time as we look now at stage 7, brought to you by Nissan today. 78.3 miles. In terms of long-distance cycling, not a long way. In terms of climbing, there is a lot. Waving there the California flag, the flag of the USA, the 2 riders on the attack, one from Colombia, one from the USA, as Chris Horner now tries to win this race in 1 day of attacking. He started the day 2 minutes 50 back. He is still in a winning position at the moment. Oh no, look at this now. According to the clock, we've just gone inside for the first time since the day began. 2:45 is now the gap. He's out of yellow by 5 seconds. But remember, Horner's going uphill here, and the peloton are going downhill, and they're speeding, believe me. We've gone through 23 kilometers now for the front runners here, which is about 14.5 miles. We still have the stepping stones to come, and then the final ropes and crampons climb up towards the finishing line at the very end of the day. The peloton is slowly being thinned out in the chase here. And I'll remind you too that running concurrently with this race is the Giro d'Italia. You can watch it on Universal Sports. Tomorrow's special earlier coverage begins at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the Giro d'Italia. By the way, today Ryder Hagedal of Canada has got back the leader's pink jersey in that event. Well done to Ryder. He's on Garmin Barracuda, by the way, and Garmin Barracuda on the front now. Well, it's having the desired effect at the moment. Fair dues, Horner is climbing, and these boys are racing downhill at high speed, but the clock is saying it's coming down. 2 minutes and 35 seconds. The peloton surprisingly large, despite everything, but not that large.
Well, you know, we have to say, Phil, the state of California is magnificent today. It really is a great backdrop for a bike race. We could be anywhere in the world here. It could be the Vuelta a España, it could be the Tour de France, but it's not. It's the Amgen Tour of California.
Yes, and Garmin Barracuda are driving on the front there. And they've reason to celebrate, of course, today, because Ryder Hagedal, the Canadian member in the Giro d'Italia running concurrently with this race, has taken back the leader's pink jersey. So he's the first Canadian to wear it earlier in the race, and now he's got it back. Now we're looking at Horner. It is still, he's 15 seconds to the ban, I have to say now, and there's no time bonuses today. Horner will know this. Somebody will have told him. 2:35 is the gap. He's running into the last 12 miles of racing, most of it uphill.
But what it makes me wonder, Phil, is if the pace that we're seeing today is not actually playing into the hands of Dave Zabriskie. Zabriskie is an experienced professional bike rider. We know he's got great form because of the way he dominated the individual time trial around Bakersfield. In the past, I've seen him ride very well in the mountain stages of the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France. The pace that is being dictated in the group could be weakening the legs of some of the younger riders like TJ Van Garderen and Robert Hessink and Peter Velits, and that may well give the advantage to Zabriskie.
Yep.
He's finished second 3 times in this bike race. He doesn't want to do that again.
No, he doesn't. He would love to win. Don't forget, he comes from Los Angeles, and his family's not very far away. Well, this is Lawson Craddock here. It's hurting the youngster who had a top 10 overall standing at the start of the day. He is a real star for the future. He's a great climber, but he's only very, very young. And today, it's been a little bit quick for him. He'll soldier on as best he can. He's inside the last 12 miles of the day, even though they are mostly uphill. So he'll just try to conserve enough energy to keep a reasonable pace overall. Well, don't forget, tomorrow is the big day, not just for the riders. It could be for you too. The Nissan Ride Before the Pros takes place in downtown LA at LA Live, and it starts between 8 and 9:30 a.m. You can all ride the same circuit, which is just under 5 kilometers. It's free to participants of all experience levels, and so you can enroll for this by going to www.amgentourofcalifornia.com/Nissan and get your entry in and come and enjoy a ride on the circuit. You do as many circuits as you can before you're told to leave for the big race. Meanwhile, the big race is winding its way up to the top of the climb. Huge sports day in Los Angeles tomorrow. Now, it looks as though the Colombian rider having a job to freewheel quite as fast as Chris Horner here. He's anxious to try and nudge it out just by a few more seconds and see if he can win this race. Welcome back, as the Highway Patrol have done a magnificent job of making these races safe for a week now. Move ahead, these two riders still very much in the lead. Chris Horner starting the day 2:50 down. He's only 2 minutes and 5 seconds ahead of the peloton now. So the hard work is coming back towards him now. I think Chris knows this. He's got to hang on in there. The finish is approaching. He rides for Team Radio Shack, which put 4 riders in this race. And the Team Radio Shack squad is also sponsored by Nissan. And that's a good cue to find out what Bob Roll was up to when he had a chance to visit the Nissan Auto Fleet compound.
I'm here with Brian Carlin, the Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Nissan North America. Nissan, a very unique relationship with the cycling industry. Brian, take us a little bit about how Nissan and the cycling industry integrate with each other.
Yeah, we're very proud of our association with Trek and Radio Shack, Bob. We've been in the sport now. This is our 3rd season. And for us, it's a perfect opportunity to showcase our product and talk about innovation, which is really our brand platform here in the United States. Good example here is supercar, the Nissan GTR. You'll see we have a graphic here of the Trek time trial bike. Just like the bike, this car's all about performance and handling.
And you guys have quite an armada of cars following the Amgen Tour of California. What are some of the other vehicles you guys have brought along?
We do. You know, we have our all-new NV van. We also have a Titan truck. But also we're showcasing an all-new Model Year 13 Ultima. It's actually out on the course at the moment. Completely refreshed, 38 miles per gallon, absolutely supercar.
And some of the bicycles match up with some of the vehicles that you guys have brought along, it seems like, from Trek, the bike sponsor of the Radio Shack squad.
Yeah, and you know, the great thing about cycling is it's zero emission. There's no gas. And of course, it's a great opportunity to showcase a zero emission vehicle, the Nissan Leaf, which again, you'll see out on the course.
Thank you very much, Brian, and good luck in the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Well done, guys, and we could do with a little help now for the leader from Radio Shack, Chris Horner, who rides for the Radio Shack Nissan team, as he's up front, and the gap is continuing to absolutely plummet now after a brilliant attack. It's 140. Well, I think now we've got to change his ambitions, Paul. We've got to go from winning the race to winning the stage, haven't we?
Well, we do, but just look at all the guys queuing up there, Phil, because that 1 minute 40 seconds can get wiped away completely on the final 5 kilometers of the slopes of this climb. Nice to see Luke Durbridge there. You might just have spotted number 6 in the orange jersey, the leader of the Best Young Rider competition. He's learning the trade of mountain climbing here this afternoon. But I have my gut is telling me that, you know, Dave Zabriskie is going to do something very special today. I don't think they're going to have a very easy job getting rid of Dave Zabriskie on the final few kilometers of this mountain.
Well, we've got to start talking, I think, now about the men who will attack on this climb. And it's going to be TJ Van Garderen, Dave Zabriskie, Robert Hessing, the Dutchman, probably Peter Velits, also here on Amigo Pharma Quickstep. Andrew Talansky, maybe not. He sits 5th overall. We've seen him in trouble. I'm not sure, in fact, whether, in fact, he never got back. It looked as though he didn't. Watch out for Luke Durbridge. He's only a youngster, and he is the best-placed young rider here for the Orica Green Edge team. And they've got every reason to ride well today, because Jerry Ryan, the president and owner of that team, joined the race yesterday. And he's in a following team car, so they'll want to impress him. They'll want to say you're spending your money right, Jerry.
Well, he certainly will, and they have ridden well so far. I've not seen very much of Robbie McEwen today, but we'll see Robbie McEwen tomorrow. The ambassador of Australian cycling will be retiring from the sport on the circuit race around the LA Live downtown in Los Angeles.
Slowing down a bit, there's Nibali at the back.
No, I think he's just going back to take on board drinks.
So there, Vincenzo Nibali. We felt that he's been coming back from what they call their rest period after a campaign earlier in the year, getting ready now, building up for the Tour de France. And they're worried about the fact he hasn't got great form here. Anyway, don't forget, we're sure you love the Amgen Tour of California. So the race goes on. Now we're going to have to switch our comedy to say, let's hope this man can stay away and win the stage, because I don't think he's going to win the race. The heads of state are coming up right behind him. Welcome back. That's where we're going. The stunning view of Mount Baldy, and this coming courtesy of Visit California. It really is a beautiful day here in the San Gabriel Mountains. We're still in Los Angeles County, and we'll just climb for the last few miles into San Bernardino County. And they're down there in the valley, but for these boys it's uphill. TJ Van Garderen, 2nd overall, hasn't lost any time yet. He's at 34 seconds. He's still got a long time. Now that is Marcel Van Garderen. You might notice the resemblance. He's joined the race now. This is the father of TJ. I met him last night, and he told me that he expected TJ to attack today. And by the way, Marcel climbed the last part of the course today in 90 minutes. And I can tell you, our television producer could only do it in 2 hours. So he better not go riding with Marcel Van Garderen. And Dave Zabriskie taking a drink. He's never looked too stressed despite that attack by Chris Horner. He hasn't panicked at all. He's just watching and waiting. He's keeping TJ Van Garderen in his sights. And Robert Hessing, the other challenger, has got them both there too. Well, there we are, steady grind now, 14 kilometers to go. The road to the finish is a steady grind to the top, and the last 8 kilometers, the peloton can't possibly climb it together. They will completely implode. But for the moment, it is TJ Van Garden's squad who is doing all of the work, Team BMC.
Yep, but everybody else is just sitting and waiting. They know that this race now, Phil, we're inside of 14 kilometers to go to the finish. They know this race will be done and undone in the last 5 kilometers of the summit of Mount Baldy, and it really is it'd be amazing to see what the crowds are like. There's a lot of people been coming up here since very, very early on in the morning. Some people even came up last night because they wanted to get the best places so they could watch the race as it came by.
Well, this is the narrow approach now to the climb, which will take us up towards the finishing line. I think the pressure's gone off a little bit back in the main field. They're now thinking their own tactics out. It hasn't gone off at the front, though. He was skimming the old rocks there, was Chris Horner coming round that left-hander. But Chris Horner now has got to concentrate on trying to win the day. But at 1:30, the peloton, the leaders, are now thinking of how to outwit each other because they've got Horner back under control.
You've got to tip your hat to this man, though, Phil, I reckon, because bear in mind, he won this bike race last year. He went on to the Tour de France as one of the pre-race favourites. He went out in a very nasty crash. The crash itself seemed to be mundane, and he was taken out of the race because of a concussion. But during the recovery phase, it was all of a sudden discovered that he had a blood clot in his lungs, which ruined the rest of his season. He fought his way back. He's almost 6 months out of the sport. Now, you know, at 39 years of age as he was then, that's a very difficult ask to come back to the top level of any sport. And now at 40, he's competitive again, and he's really giving these guys a hard time.
Yep, absolutely right. That is Acevedo, Jose Acevedo, talking there to Chris Horner. He's the manager of the Radio Shack Nissan team. I couldn't hear that. Maybe you could at home, but we're now looking. Chris Horner's been told the situation, which is you've got 1.5 minutes. You've got 13 kilometers, or just over 7 miles to go. I don't think the Colombian rider would have understood there the English language. So Chris Horner's got the first-hand advice.
Well, to put this into perspective, Phil, this is a do-or-die effort. You know, this man was so far down in the overall standings. A lot of people were saying he didn't have any chance at all of victory. But this is like, you know, when you go into the Rugby World Cup final and you wait for a man to kick the winning goal and get the final points, or somebody who throws a 90-yard throw in a football game in the United States. It doesn't happen very often, but Chris Horner is trying to do one of those.
Well, he's made himself a name on this race. Win or lose the overall race, he has put himself back in the frame. He is not riding anonymously to LA Live tomorrow. It was an absolutely brilliant attack by him today. He did what he only had to do, he probably only could do. It was a big ask to ask him to survive with those time gaps to the finish.
Now, by the way, talking about great legends of sport, apparently Barry Bonds is in one of the following cars this afternoon. I wonder what he thinks about this as an arena.
Well, he's thinking, I'm not going to be a professional cyclist, I would think, because it is a tough sport, as we know. Well, we're continuing. The peloton is still quite a lot of riders still left in this big field here as they continue the way to the front. Just tagged onto the back there is Brian Van Borg of Team Spider Tech. As we now get the front view of the same charging pack. Our referees rightly keeping our cameras away from the race so that there's not getting any of a slipstream off the television today, as they haven't had any all week either. 11 kilometers to go, just over. Coming down towards 6 3/4 miles from the finish. And the gap is pegged now at 1:30. That's why I think they're preoccupied. They're thinking about how they're going to outwit each other in the pack rather than worry about the flying Chris Horner.
Yeah, I think they're pretty satisfied with 1.5 minutes. They know that Chris Horner is now within reach. They don't have to pull him back at all. They have to just control it. And now we're starting to decide between the top 4 or 5 men in the overall standings, how are they going to win this bike race? Zabriskie is in the ideal position because he's the leader. It's his race to be taken away. And the other guys, they're going to have to attack if they want to beat him. TJ Van Garden, Gesink and Velits, they're great climbers, and they will have to launch all Zabriskie. If they hit this climb, Phil, and they ride this climb at a steady tempo, I think Zabriskie's got a very good chance of survival.
Well, Horner just shaking those muscles to wake them up here as he starts to approach the steeper slopes of Mount Baldy. He is a very good rider. He doesn't win a lot of races throughout his career. He's won about 65, 67 races. He's also finished 10th and 15th in the Tour de France. And I believe if he had not have crashed in last year's Tour, which took him out of the race, he was a top 6 boy.
Well, he was very upset himself when he was sitting at home on his couch and watching the Tour de France with the fact that once he saw that Alberto Contador was put into difficulty, he thought, wow, this could have been my Tour de France.
Yes.
And you mentioned a top 6. Why not a top 3?
Why not? He deserves it. On his day, he is a brilliant bike rider, even at 40, almost 41 years of age. So we're just seeing every time he senses a dropping of the pace with Atapuma, he puts on the pressure. There we are, 10 kilometers to go. In 2 kilometers time, this gets a really, really tough climb. And the boys chasing are still Team BMC. So let's go to the summit. There is the finishing line now. We are 10 kilometers, 6 miles away from it. We'll take a break. We'll be back for when the climb really starts, and then we'll go with them all the way to the finish. See you in just a moment. Welcome back, and what a great day of racing we have had today here. We're now racing up towards the top of Mount Baldy. There's still a little way to climb, and Chris Horner receiving the cheers of the sparse crowds up here at this level. We should see more as we come up towards the summit, and with him is John Atapuma. Back to the peloton here. The gap continues to close down. Now it looks as though the big men, because now it is the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie who is at the front, and Rabobank are coming up alongside him. It's Luis Leon Sanchez who has come up to the front here now. Took a look at Dave Zabriskie. Zabriskie's face will have given nothing away, but Zabriskie now has got no teammates around him except Tommy Danielson.
Phil, the only way they can get rid of Zabriskie, I believe, is if they launch a series of attacks, because Zabriskie is a great individual time trialist. If they try and ride this at tempo, that will play into Zabriskie's hands. They need to change the tempo, change the accelerations. Only that way, I think, will they see that man crack.
Well, this rider has cracked. This is Brent Buchwalter, who rode alongside Cadel Evans last year on the team when they won the Tour de France with Cadel. He's cracked now.
I was told to give a shout out for Brent Buchwalter this morning, Phil, because I was actually talking to his 10th grade teacher who came out here to watch him, and she said, can you give him a shout on the telly, because I love coming to watch him.
Well, go and give him a shout then. He needs a shout right now to get back on. The gritting of the teeth there to Dave Zabriskie, as this is also another rider cracked now. This is Yannick Eisen, the Belgian, on the team BMC. It looks as though there's been a lifting of the pace there. It's been lifted by the Spanish rider, and that is Luis Leon Sanchez. You've got Wilco Kelderman, this incredible young rider on Rabobank, and there's a move coming here off the front. I'm not sure where we are. We're off the back at the moment. And this is Rory Sutherland going off.
Yeah, well, this is a surprise to see Rory Sutherland, because I would expect it, the Aussie rider for United Healthcare here, as a possible top 10 finisher. All of the flags flying high, the Pirate flag, the Olympic flag, the California flag, and the Star-Spangled Banner. Chris Horner doesn't care about any of that at the moment. He's getting himself concentrated on the job in hand. But I wonder if John Atapuma has got something in those legs of his to get the victory for this pretty much a brand new team. They were put together last year, Colombia Col Deportes. It grew out of the older Café de Colombia squad.
Now this is Luke Durbridge at the back here in the Best Young Riders jersey, and he is cracked, and the other young rider up there, Wilco Kelderman, is setting the pace. Wilco could take the lead if Luke loses ground here. He's got to dig deep here. He kicked again when he realized he was last man. I'm not sure he meant he was last man. We are still approaching the hard bit on this climb. Believe me, it bears no comparison to this part of the road. It is so steep. A minute is now the gap.
Look at the face of Dave Zabriskie. It reminds me of a funny little comment somebody said once. You know, they're on the steepest part of the climb right now, and when they go around the corner, it gets steeper.
And the rider who won yesterday, Sylvain Georges, is also struggling, but he's still there despite that race-long breakaway yesterday. Those legs have come back good today. This is a very select group now. It's hurting everyone, no matter what your name is, the race leader or not. It hurts now.
He will struggle, this man, but look at the face on the man behind him. TJ Van Garderen looks calm and collected. He's waiting for the moment to pounce if he can. Robert Hessing, though, has got two riders on the front in front of him. You can see those orange and blue jerseys there. Rabobank, they've been a great sponsor in the sport of professional cycling for many, many years. Not just supporting the top end of the sport, supporting women's cycling as well as track cycling, development cycling, cyclocross and mountain bikes. And they're a great sponsor of this race.
Now, this group has thinned out now. George Hincap is the red jersey, but this pain has been caused by Luis Leon Sanchez, a double-stage winner in the recent Tour of Romandy. And the rider tucked in behind him is the youngster Wilco Kelderman, and then behind him is Robert Hessing. The Rabobanks are poised to try and take this race today. Meanwhile, and let's not forget, the gap now is only 1 minute to these two riders. They still have almost 6 kilometers to climb, 3.5 miles. It doesn't go down till you cross the finishing line. There is no respite.
Well, if you just have a look at the line of riders there, you've got the three Rabobank riders. Luis Leon Sanchez is doing the pacemaking. Kelderman is in second place. They're riding today to try and set the race victory up for Robert Hessing. He's in third position. Behind him, grimacing, going through all kinds of pain with that blue helmet, is the yellow jersey, Dave Zabriskie. Behind Zabriskie is Tommy Danielson. As you said earlier, Phil, everybody is saying that Tommy Danielson is nursing some very, very good form.
And I'm not sure, but I think behind Danielson it is Levi Leipheimer. It looked like his style, and Levi Leipheimer, who won on this climb last time, don't forget, and is riding this race as a 3-time previous winner, but only 6 weeks ago now he had a broken leg. How on earth he's doing it, I don't know. And there he is. He is the 6th man in the blue and white jersey there.
That is definitely the style of Levi Leipheimer, and turn the clock back just 1 year. The winner of the summit of Mount Baldy was Levi Leipheimer in a great escape with his own teammate on that occasion.
George is gone. Yeah. George is gone. He's done his job, and George is unhitched as well now as he continues. He's stayed till 5 kilometers plus to the top of the climb. And so they continue, and another rider has gone here at the moment too. That is the end of the winner of yesterday, Sylvain Georges. He lived a great moment in this race yesterday, as we all did, leading the race for 184 kilometers.
I'm a bit concerned there, Phil, just looking down that group of riders. Yes, I've just noticed that Levi Leipheimer is there, but I haven't seen Peter Velits anywhere.
A very good point. Peter Velits is the rider who climbed up to 4th place overall on the same team as Levi Leipheimer. Haven't had a camera on him at all today.
Cam Meyer.
Is his Cam Meyer also going now, the former time trial champion of the and the former winner of the Santos Tour Down Under in Australia, all showing the pressure of the day now. 5.2 kilometers. Wait till you see around the corner when it gets to the 5 kilometer sign. 55 seconds the gap. We are on Mount Baldy Road. Look at that select group. 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 riders going towards 5K.
Well, what is interesting, Phil, is the fact that the man who was in 4th place overall at the start of the day, Peter Velits, has disappeared. He's been replaced by his teammate Levi Leipheimer, who 6 weeks ago, Phil, had broken his leg, and now he's ridden right back to the top end of his game.
I think that was Nathan Brown there, the youngster on the Bontrager Livestrong team. He did a great ride yesterday, Paul, and he's at it again. Now, I've not seen this team before, so I might be wrong, but all of them are so young. They're 19 and 20 years of age, and that's it for that team.
Well, I think it could very well be Joseph Dombrowski who's in there, wears number 145. Okay. He's got the black jersey of Bontrager, won the recent Tour of Gila in New Mexico.
Well, I can see his number now, it's 145. So it is Joe Dombrowski, who is on good form, and he's surviving here with men many years his senior. In the case of Chris Horner, 21 years his senior. This is Chris Horner. This is where it starts now. 5 kilometers to go. Chris Horner will know it's going to get hard now, as if it hasn't been hard for all day today for him. And it's also the Colombian rider, Atapuma, who has gone to the front. The hairpin bends now. They kick in at around about 30%.
Well, to put it into perspective, Phil, Atapuma has finished 4th overall in the... oh, he's gone. He has gone.
Well, he's waited. I've always felt he was holding something in reserve. Is there anything left in those legs of Horner to try and close the gap? But John Atapuma is a pure Colombian climber.
I was just about to tell you, Phil, that he finished 9th overall in the Tour de l'Avenir, John Atapuma, and 6th overall in the Tour of Colombia. That's an indication that he is a great climber. Horner could not respond at all to that acceleration. Now, oh, he has.
Well done. Well, there you are. See, I'm never sure whether that's a grimace or a smile, but Horner has gone back. Now, what's going to happen here? It is still Luis Leon Sanchez causing trouble as they fight their way to hold on here. Now, they're all looking each other, not least Dombrowski on the right looks across. And even though the yellow jersey is suffering, he is perfectly placed to go with the move if the legs will go with him.
Atapuma's gone again. John Atapuma has launched another attack against Chris Horner here. Horner fought his way back. Now, you see, Horner is the kind of guy who rides at his own tempo. He's unable to change his tempo. What makes a great climber is somebody who can launch an acceleration and a second and a third. They are able to change their cadence and change their speed.
Well, we're looking here now at, and look as we go back, because this is an attack now. It's been laid down, and look who's on his wheel. Dombrowski's gone with him. This is Hessing here. The foundation's laid down by this rider, and now it is up to Hessing to try and make the goods from it. That was a lead out by Sanchez to launch the attack. He's gone.
Tommy Danielson is dragging it back in the blue, though, for Team Garmin Barracuda. He's come straight away across there to Dombrowski, and he will have to go straight by him. Dave Zabriskie has disappeared with that acceleration. Robert Hessing, though, is the man who said he wanted to win this bike race. He didn't come to the United States to do shopping. He came to race.
There's Zabriskie.
He's got to now try and control himself. Let's not forget, Phil, he started the day with a 34-second advantage, and in fact a 39-second advantage over Robert Hessing, but Hessing is going for it.
Tommy Danielson trying to come back. Behind Tommy Danielson, TJ Van Garderen. 3 riders going. Remember, the Hessing is placed 5 seconds behind Van Garderen overall. There's no bonuses at the finish. The real time will reveal the day. And now it looks as though the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie, he's got to drop back into a zone he's comfortable in and see if he can recover. But Robert Gessing has gone again, and Danielson is fighting to match him.
Well, I tell you what, Phil, Hessing is thinking now that he's racing back in the Tour of Oman, which is a race that he won last year in the month of February. He won a mountaintop finish and went on the next day to beat a certain Fabian Cancellara in the individuals time trial.
Gessing started the day 39 seconds behind Dave Zabriskie and 5 seconds behind Van Garderen. He is now moving quickly into the yellow jersey on the road because Dave Zabriskie has got nothing left in that tank.
Just in front of Zabriskie is Peter Weening, the rider from Orica Green Edge. This man has to concentrate now. He's not a great climber, but he'd have to just get himself into the zone. These two guys we're looking at are great climbers. Hessing is the man who's made the move, but he's been joined by Tommy Danielson, and TJ Van Garderen is in difficulty. That's the rider in the red and black jersey. He was in 2nd place overall at the start of the day.
Robert Gessing is now officially 5 seconds from moving into the virtual leader of this race. He's recovered all bar 30 of that of his 39 as he slips back now to the race here. Matthew Boucher, the champion of the USA, sits alongside here the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie. The gap is 50 seconds. Don't forget, there's still 2 riders up front, but this is the battle for the win in the Tour, and Robert Gessing, he is now holding all of the aces.
It's amazing, Phil. I mean, we drove up this morning, the steepness of this climb. These boys are making it look so very, very easy, but Hessing is all over his machine. Danielson, if he wants to win this bike race, is going to have to put a lot of time between himself and Robert Hessing. I'm not sure that he's got the chance to do that. Look at his face, though. He doesn't look like a man in difficulty. Currently, he's pretty much on the defensive.
If Danielson feels he can win this stage and win this race, he has got to leave Gessing's side 2 kilometers from the finish, because he's got to open a gap of 28 seconds to take the lead over Gessing.
TJ Van Garderen is in his own zone there, but he's been put into difficulty by the attack of this man, Robert Hessing, on the front in the orange jersey, shadowed by the Garmin Barracuda rider, Tom Danielson. And Danielson is the rider out of the saddle. Today, it's all about time. There are no time bonuses. You can't win 10 seconds this afternoon. Van Garderen won't give up, though, Phil. He wants to win this bike race. And to win a bike race, you've got to go through all kinds of turmoil.
Van Garderen being joined by one of the new top boys in American cycling, the youngster Joe Dombrowski on his side there. But this is now Guessing versus the rest. Danielson has got to drop in by 28 seconds to win this race. Guessing is climbing into yellow, but take your hat off to TJ Van Garderen. They're riding tempo, and it looks as though TJ has said something to Joe Dombrowski, or maybe just took a look to see who on earth is riding alongside him. Here's the man who left the side of Chris Horner and is dancing his way. This is the mugging of Mount Baldy.
Well, that was a great acceleration, but look at the way the gap is tumbling, because Hessing and Danielson now, Phil, are at a mere 35 seconds from the Colombian leader, John Atapuma. Hessing really wants this. I think he's been cajoled a little bit by one of the PR men from Team Rabobank, Henny Kuiper, who finished second overall in the Tour de France.
Yes.
Henny, at the pre-race conference and presentation, said to me, just give him a little bit of stick about whether he's come to the United States to come shopping or he's actually going to win this bike race.
Very cruel of Henny, who's a good friend of ours, a former world champion, Olympic gold medalist. But I'll tell you what, Robert Guessing came here earlier than everybody else to train here and get used to it. He said he had good form. He made no secret about it at the press conference at the start of this race in Santa Rosa. Now he's laying the foundation. And look at this as well. Joe Dombrowski is leaving TJ Van Garderen. That was not meant to be. And Chris Horner is now in sight of the chasers. And soon, I think we're going to see the Spanish leader on the road, also in sight. Hold at the corner. There we are. Guessing is sprinting up to Chris Horner. He's bridged the gap and he's taken all day. And what has happened? Because he has dropped Tom Danielson, Robert Guessing, the Dutchman, is heading now to claim the next leader's yellow jersey.
Well, TJ Van Garderen looks over his shoulder. He's going through all kinds of hell this afternoon. Hats off to this man, Chris Horner. He set this race up to be a real showdown on Mount Baldy this afternoon. There you can see now that Robert Hessing, I don't think I've ever seen Hessing actually suffer quite as much as he's suffering here this afternoon. He is absolutely burying himself. He doesn't want to just win the bike race here this afternoon, Phil. He wants to catch the guy at the front.
Well, Joe Dombrowski has also ridden away from the rest of the field, and he was the best young rider in the Tour of the Gila just before this race started. He's the oldest man in the race at 21 years of age. Sorry, on the team, but he's still a youngster by this level of cycling. This is the man who's taking his chance now. He's ridden very, very well at Atapuma. He's still trying to win this stage. That would be an outstanding victory for his Columbia Calder Supporters team. But Guessing has saved everything for one day in the mountains. He is destroying himself. He's caught Chris Horner, and very soon I think he's going to move clear.
Well, I'll tell you what, again, this is a man coming back from a dramatic injury. He actually broke his leg in training in September last year and has had to fight his way to the top end of his game once again. It's taken him a long time to find that form. He doesn't have very many performances to his credit so far this season, but today he's turning that all around. This man came into the race in second place in the overall standings. He was hoping he was going to get the victory, but to get the victory, he would have had to stay with the man in front of him there, Robert Hessing.
Yes, well, Hessing has, as we thought, he has moved away from Chris Horner. He is the leader at the moment now as we switch up the road. The two Colombians in the act here. We just caught a glimpse there of Fabio Duarte. I thought he might have been the man for the day. He's a good climber, but this man went in the breakaway. Now, Guessing has left behind the labouring figure of Chris Horner, who's watching them go by him one by one. He is dreaming of yellow, and at the moment, it is virtually his at the top of the climb.
Well, if you didn't believe it, it all happens here in California, because that was Elvis at the side of the road, so he still is around as we go back to TJ Van Garderen. He's into the zone. He's trying to concentrate here. He's trying to make sure he doesn't lose too much time. The rider in front of him is Duarte, a very young rider, formerly under 23 world champion. Van Garderen must be crumbling a little bit inside here, Phil, psychologically, because he felt today that he was in the best place overall at second place. All he had to do was get rid of Dave Zabriskie.
Yes, and he's done that, but he's gone into the red zone, and he's now got to rest, hope his body checks itself, and see if he can lift the pace again. Unfortunately, this climb doesn't get any easier, and our television cameras don't really show you just how steep this climb is. I'll tell you, you need 2 sticks to walk up this hill, and Robert Guessing Guessing now, who's finished a 6th place in the Tour de France in 2010, but he's largely been disappointing in that race over the years, and the Dutch have been cheering him on as a future Tour winner. Maybe this year he will go in as one of the favourites. But Van Garderen still, as he falls back now, we are looking at empty roads ahead, and it's a Dutchman. No Dutchman has ever won this race, but he's in the hot seat now.
Well, this is Duarte coming across the gap. He's a great rider. We'll watch this rider race in Europe in the rest of the season. And I think this Colombia Col Deportes team is turning out to be a great move back to the top for Colombian cycling, which in the middle of the 1980s was some of the best cyclists coming out of Colombia in the world. Lucho Herrera, Fabio Parra, and now we're going to have to say Duarte, and of course the young man who's managed to get himself off the front at the moment, John Atapuma.
And this is John Dabrowski up alongside Chris Horner, #1 now on the back wheel of Dabrowski, and Tom Danielson. These 3 riders holding tempo as we go back up towards the leader. Atapuma now, he's free to fly. He's got to watch over his shoulder because the man in orange is coming as fast as he can, and there's still a reasonable way to go to win. There is the gap, and you know, we just go around these zigzags towards the finish. Guessing he's going to win this stage, he's going to win it in style.
Well, that was the best thing to do. We should have known the form that he had, Phil, because he rode himself a very good individual time trial. Second group on the road there, Horner, Tommy Danielson, Dombrowski. He hails from Marshall, Virginia, but today, this afternoon, he's looking like a king of the mountains.
Well, look at this now. Guessing is closing in, inching by way. There's still time for Robert Guessing to have a perfect day out. But really, we've got the wonderful escape here of Atapuma. He's been at it all day in a breakaway, first of 17, now him. But Robert Guessing is being pulled to the summit of Mount Baldy by a yellow jersey waiting him on the finishing line. And I think that'll be a force too much to be countered by the Colombian.
Well, you know, Atapuma has not given up the ghost yet, Phil. He's just looked over his shoulder and seen that Robert Hessing was coming back to him, so he's accelerated again. Now Hessing, he's been on the red zone for a long time now. This is a bit strange here to see Duarte doing the pacemaking behind because his teammate is just in front of him.
Well, it's a little bit of a way now. This is through where we pulled most of the vehicles off as we climb up towards the summit. There's still a little way to go to the top, just on a mile to the summit, and there's still, it is the Colombians cheering on the Colombian here, but Guessing is getting on. There aren't too many Dutch supporters in this part of the world, but he doesn't care. He loves this race, and one day he said he would come here and win it. He's won the best young rider in the past, but he's never won the race, and he's closing in on the leader, Atapuma, and Chris is cracking here.
Right, Tommy Danielson had a little bit of recovery time there, and he's staying in contact with Duarte. Dombrowski, Phil, is a name we're going to talk about as well, because, you know, he started the day in 35th position overall, the young rider on the Bontrager Livestrong team, but he's riding himself high in the overall standings tonight, because we have raced for seconds throughout the whole of this week so far. Now it's all going to be minutes, and even Chris Horner, despite the fact that he's not going to win the stage, not going to win the bike race overall, he will make a leap up the overall standings tonight.
We're in Mount Baldy here, and it looks to me as though he's going to finish him off in sight of the finishing line, because we climb right through and we go up some very steep zigzags. We go through a barrier, you may not notice it, it is open, and we go through that barrier. Now it is coming together here, because that is Dombrowski, who's just moved away and split up the field. This youngster is amazing here, as he's now he's recovered from the climb, he's pushing on.
Well, Robert Hessink is just looking at the back wheel there of Atapuma. They're looking at the Kendo 1 kilometer to go sign, and Hessink knows he's got to get onto the back wheel of the Colombian rider. Slowly but surely he's dragging it back, but it's a very long effort to do so.
1 kilometer, this is the Kenda Bridge here for the last time out on the open roads. Dabrowski is moving forward, Danielson is in trouble on his own, as Dabrowski now is trying to finish it off. There's going to be some big teams looking for that youngster. This could be the catch. 900 meters from the finish. This hill doesn't stop climbing till the finishing line. These two are both on the limit of their ability, and they're using everything, including their shoulders, to ride that bicycle.
The pain that these men are going through here this afternoon at the summit of Mount Baldy. This This is the style of John Atapuma, very reminiscent of the style of the great Colombian climbers of the mid-1980s, Lucho Herrera, Fabio Parra, when Colombian cycling dominated all of the high spots of Europe. This man knows what it's all about, though. Number 41, Robert Hessing, he's just now made the junction with the leader, but what a pain he had to go through.
This is a slow-motion pass here for John Atapuma. It reminds me of the great battle between Jacques Anquetil and Raymond Poulidor on the Puy de Dôme back in the 60s in the Tour de France. This is shoulder to shoulder. Atapuma looks across. He'll recognize the face of Robert Gessing. Gessing will have tried not to show the pain he's in as he's gone past him. He's coming back.
Well, he's going to try and stay, but just behind there, you can see that black jersey. That is Joe Dombrowski, and I tell you what, 2 years ago, he won the Virginia Hill Climb, but what's more important to me is a couple of years, Phil, he's won the best climber in the Ronde d'Izoard, which is a very difficult race in France, so he has to be a great mountain climber.
He is closing in. I'd like to be in the team car with Axel Merckx, the team director there, watching this rider come up, because he could still come up here, you know. It's a continuous climb as Dave Zabriskie is reaching us. He's lost 1 minute and 20 seconds at this point. Tommy Danielson also not doing any good now, been unhitched as well. Dombrowski is up front there, going around that corner. These are the zigzags now that brings them up to the finish, and it could still be a sprint finish between these two. Amazing.
It will be a sprint finish between these two, because now we've got to the slightly easier grade, number 91, John Atapuma of Colombia, Col Deportes, leading around the corner. Lumpy little road there for the man in the orange jersey, Robert Hessing. He wants to win the stage, but more importantly, he's going to win the overall standings. He's out of the saddle, but Duarte, Atapuma's coming back to him.
There's another really sharp right coming up now. Then he'll be below the finishing line. He's going for the inside. That was a cheeky move, and he's done it. Now, has he got the legs to kick out of that corner? Atapuma caught Gessing off guard. Gessing wants the inside now. Is he going to get the inside? Yes, Gessing has fought his way back, but he's still not at the finish yet. But I think that's the winning move. Robert Gessing, he pulled to the top.
Oh, he's
gone wide.
He's lost it.
He's gone so wide. Has Atapuma got round on the inside? No. Gessing kicks again. The line is his. What an incredible finish on top of Mount Baldy.
Unbelievable, right? They took incredible risks going round there. It's going to be Duarte who's going to come up to get himself a third place. It's been a great day out for the Colombian team this afternoon. Third place for Duarte after his teammate was second. But what about this man coming over here? Joe Dombrowski from Bontrager, Livestrong in fourth place. That is phenomenal. Here is Tommy Danielson. He'll move up in the standings, but he won't be too happy tonight.
So we've got over the finishing line. 5 riders are in at the moment. The clock is counting now. When you see 34, that means Zabiski's lost his lead. There is Chris Horner, who's come across the top in 6th place, but he's not gained any time on the men that matters, just a little bit on Dave Zabriskie. There's the lone figure of the yellow jersey. He held it for 2 days. Today he passes it on to the Dutchman as they continue now. Looks like Luis Leon Sanchez swinging in. No, it's not Sanchez. It's probably tanking as he swings in towards the finish. As he comes up now, and in the distance, we should see the yellow jersey of Dave Zabriskie. He's not going to scrape into the top 10. There's Levi Leipheimer crossing the line as well. Another great climb. TJ Van Garderen made his move. He's hit the wall on the steep section of the climb. He's lost a lot of places here.
Well, there's Dave Zabriskie in the yellow. That's an amazing defence, though, Phil. But he's not going to retain the overall jersey tonight. But he really put on a big battle.
Zabriskie crosses the line approximately 1:23. Lost there to the leader today. He had 39 seconds in hand at the start, so he loses the lead to this rider here.
Robert Hessing, that is the face of a man who wanted victory this afternoon. He wanted it more than anybody else. By the way, that's his daughter there, Daisy. You might just have noticed at the side of the road. She was born on December the 7th last year.
Yes, and somehow she's managed to get to the top of Mount Baldy, but I bet she didn't ride a bike. What a day out. Rabobank really wanted this a big time, and they've delivered here on the most difficult stage of the race this year. Tomorrow we're in LA Live. We're going to all the iconic places of Los Angeles. It's a flat road, though. They can't get that jersey off him tomorrow.
Former Irish champion coming up now, Nicholas Roach. He's lost. Look at the time gaps, though, Phil. You know, we're looking 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and the clock is still counting.
And whatever happened to Peter Velits, I really don't know. So there we are. The winner is there, and he's trying to get just a breath of air. He's sitting around about 6,500 feet. Let's have a look at the Coca-Cola stage results, as we call it, I think. Guessing same time as Atapuma. Sprint finish on the mount. And then comes Fabio Duarte at 14 seconds. Dombrowski, 21 years of age, 18 seconds. Tommy Danielson came up 5th at 26 seconds. These are incredible performances. Still the seconds margin. Chris Horner had a brilliant day. 6th at 38 seconds. Another youngster, Wilco Kelderman, he's 20. A minute and 4 seconds off for him. Tiago Machado, a bit more mature from Portugal, a minute 06. Leipheimer, despite his broken leg only 6 weeks ago, finishes 9th. He won here 2 years ago. A minute and 8 seconds. TJ only 10th today. He'll be very disappointed about that, and we maybe talk to him, but that is a real shame for TJ Van Garderen. The pressure, I think, got to him a little bit, but Rabobank wanted a result this week. They've got it now, and they have a big reception going on up here, I can tell you, so he's going to be part of it later on. All smiles for Robert Gessing today. He is the new leader. We'll take a break, and as always, we'll try and get you some interviews, and we'll see all of the podiums. So stay with us and enjoy this great day on the Amgen Tour. Well, today Mount Baldy has witnessed one of the great battles for the Amgen Tour of California. In the end, a lone victory for the Dutchman Robert Gessing as he sprinted clear of the Colombian rider. David Zabriskie, yes, naturally enough, he is dejected, but he tried his heart out.
Yes, he lost a minute and 25 seconds on the stage, but he also lost his yellow jersey lead as well, because Chris Horner really set this race on fire, attacked right from the very start and nearly turned the tables.
Horner crossing the line eventually in 6th place, and TJ Van Garderen with hardly the strength to get his leg over that bike. He is bitterly disappointed. This was meant to be his day today. All right, well, let's have a look then at our road ID ride of the day. It has to be Gessing.
Robert Gessing from Rabobank and Holland made the move on the mountain of Mount Baldy here this afternoon. A man coming back from a broken leg in September of last year, bounced his way up this mountain, caught every one of the lone survivors of the early morning breakaway one by one, until finally he dragged himself up to the Colombian John Atapuma, and then it was all down to the final sprint for the line.
And what a sprint it was too. It looked as though Atapuma may have won it, taking the shorter line. Then it looked as though Gessing had lost it, taking the longer line. But he recovered well to come off the line and sprint to the finish and win the day. Robert Gessing, the winner today, and that is our road ID ride of the day. Well, let's go straight away to the yellow jersey podium. There is Robert Gessing, Paul.
Well, Phil, this man has always been a great climber, but, you know, his first ever professional bike race was the Amgen Tour of California. When he came back, he really wanted to do something special. And his baby, Anna, there is climbing up onto the top step of the podium very shortly. Born on the 7th of December last year.
Yes, and it looks as though Gessing is going to be a very happy man. Tomorrow should be okay for him. It's all flat down in Los Angeles. This is the Barclay standings. Gessing getting the win. 46 seconds now. Overall, he leads Dave Zabriskie as we now see the Cliff Bar standings. Tom Danielson in 3rd place. TJ Van Garderen in 4th. And Fabio Duarte coming up there now into 5th. A terrific ride by the 3-times winner of this race, Levi Leipheimer. Despite a leg broken only 6 weeks ago, he is now up into 6th place overall. And I can hear now that Bob Roll is talking with Robert Gessing.
Robert, you crashed out of last summer's Tour de France and had a difficult fall as well. How much does it mean to you to return to the very highest pinnacle of our sport here at Mount Baldy?
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, last year in the end of last year I crashed, broke my right leg, and yeah, in January I still had to learn how to walk. And now I'm back. I've been working really hard for the last months. In races, it didn't always work out in the beginning, and that's difficult as an athlete. I mean, you always want to win, and now to be back at the highest level in such a great race, to beat the best uphill like this, it's unbelievable.
And for your sponsor, Rabobank, the Tour of California is a very big race, the Amgen Tour of California.
Yeah, for sure. Rabobank became a bigger Bank in America as well. They sponsor part of the race also. For them, it's a really important race. And for me, it was my first professional race ever, and I had a nice victory before over here 4 years ago. And I'm really happy to be back at this level. And after a real difficult year, lost my dad a bit more than a year ago. Became dad myself, so emotionally were a few really difficult years. And now to be back at the highest level and to beat great guys like Zabriskie and Horner and Leipheimer and TJ, I mean it's incredible, and I'm really happy. I still can't really believe it.
Well, congratulations on a real stroke of panache with the stage win and the overall jersey.
Thank you, thank you.
And tomorrow he takes that yellow jersey down to LA Live. We're now waiting for more presentation. I think they're bringing up the jersey winners. There he is now. So the new leader in the Amgen Tour of California is Robert Gesink. And he now takes his place there. Looking at the new leader in the best young rider, also goes to Rabobank rider, and the jersey sponsored by Rabobank, and that's Wilco Kelderman. Chris Horner there is voted the XD most aggressive rider of the day, and just the most courageous rider there as well. Oh, they're giving Chris Horner the most courageous award there for XG, for Amgen rather, and for XG they've given it to Atapuma. So as we look out across Bald Mountain here now, it has been an extraordinary day, and just as he came off stage, Bob Roll is now speaking with Chris Horner.
Chris, this morning you mentioned that it would be advantageous if somebody put pressure on the race lead of Dave Zabriskie. Did you imagine it would be you to do that?
I was hoping it would be me. I knew the team's strong, but they'd done a lot of work all week with chasing here and there. But when I saw Jens and Gregory in the break, and George came up to me and he's like, "Is the plan for me still to go on the break?" I said, "Yeah, go." And he's like, "When?" I go, "Whenever you can." And so as soon as he went, right then I thought, man, if we get 4 of us in there with Jens up there, for sure I got a chance of even maybe winning the overall if we can pull out some amazing ride, maybe with a little bit of luck. Jens was fabulous. You know, what can you say? I'm sorry.
Absolutely was fabulous.
Yeah, Jens was great. George was great. Gregory, absolutely unbelievable. So they really drilled it. United Healthcare jumped in a little bit. Timmy Dugan some. And so we had a chance there. I just knew we had to go from the second KOM, and we had to go from the bottom there. So I just put it down as hard as I possibly could there. I was hoping there maybe be 3 or 4 of us at the top, but looked like it was just me and the Colombian. So after that, I saw one guy, the Ergo Shimano guy, who I never did any work in the break the whole time. So once I got him popped in, he's just kind of dangling, and I knew he wasn't worth waiting for anyways.
What does a long breakaway like that on a day like today in such a difficult course, what does that do to the body?
Yeah, the form's good, and you know, because I don't really have to go. You're no longer doing, I got to do the big power on the second climb, and after that, that's about it for big power. So then it's just steady. That's all you can do. There is no more big power. The body's drained of any real power, and you just got to just keep steady and not blow and hold it to the finish. I was hoping to try to pull out the stage, but like I said, I don't want the stage. I wanted the overall, so I was willing to put everything on the line for that, and it just didn't work out that way. But we put on a show for Radio Shack, and hopefully the fans enjoyed everything they got to watch.
You made some gigantic watts throughout today's stage, presumably. Does that augur well for the rest of the season?
I saw 262 after the second KOM, and I didn't look at the power meter after that, so I'm sure it had to be pretty epic at the finish.
All right, well, congratulations, and best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks, Bob. Looking forward to it.
Yes, well done, Chris. That was a very courageous attack he put in today, and I'm sure it's gone a long way to naming him in the team for the upcoming Tour de France. Well, that wraps up an extraordinary day on the race to Mount Baldy. Don't forget, tomorrow it's stage 8. It's the end of the Amgen Tour of California. We go down to Beverly Hills for the start. We race on to the finishing circuit at Los Angeles outside LA Live. And we will be live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And that will be on NBC Sports. And don't forget, tonight at stage 7 will be re-aired at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8:30 p.m. here on the Pacific Coast. And for the full schedule and race highlights, log on to NBCSports.com. Great day of racing for sure here at the Amgen Tour of California. For Bob Roll, Paul Sherwin, I'm Phil Liggett saying we'll see you downtown LA tomorrow for the big end to this race. Goodbye. Baldy.